Manchester United are ready to sell Harry Maguire 3 months after the England defender claimed that he's been told he has a future at Old Trafford. Maguire, 31, is currently in the final year on his contract with United, who are understood to be willing to cash in for as little as £10 million during the upcoming January transfer window. The centre-back cost the Red Devils £80 million to sign from Leicester City in 2019, with manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer handing him the captaincy midway through his debut season. Under Solskjaer's successor, Erik Ten Hag, Maguire has endured a difficult few years. After struggling for regular minutes during Ten Hag's first campaign, he was stripped of the club captaincy and offered to West Ham. A deal didn't materialize, though, and Ten Hag eventually became reliant on Maguire last season as the Red Devils were hit with a lengthy injury crisis at centre-back. Despite his treatment, Maguire, who missed out on a call-up to this month's England squad before suffering an injury against Aston Villa, has constantly remained loyal to United, who've had a disastrous campaign so far. Speaking in July, he presumed that he was part of the club's future plans. Asked if he wanted to stay at Old Trafford, Maguire told Sky Sports, "Unless the club tell me I'm up for sale or I'm not wanted there anymore. Everything I've heard and the action I've been shown from the club, I'm part of the future, and it is time to crack on and make this club successful again. Challenging for the big trophies, that's what this club demands." The 31-year-old recently came to Ten Hag's rescue to snatch a late 3-3 draw with Porto in the Europa League, with United having squandered a 2-goal lead. Maguire came on as a substitute after fellow right-sided centre-back Matthijs de Ligt endured yet another difficult outing following his £43 million move from Bayern Munich in August. United also signed French prospect Lenny Yoro from Lille in the summer for £52 million, only for the 18-year-old to suffer an injury in pre-season, which is set to rule him out until November. Yoro's return will see United boast 6 senior centre-backs, although half of them are out of contract next June. Alongside Maguire, Johnny Evans and Victor Lindelof are also in the final 12 months of their deals, and none of the trio look likely to extend. Evans partnered Maguire at Villa Park for half of the 0-0 draw before Lindelof came on at the break and was used as a right-back. The noises coming out of the current Manchester United dressing room have a worryingly familiar air to them. "They look like they wanted it more than us, and that can't be right," said Christian Eriksen after last month's 1-1 Europa League draw with FC Twente. Then fellow esteemed colleague Johnny Evans admitted the talk around Erik Ten Hag's future is impacting the mindset of the squad. "It does affect the players," he explained after the goalless draw with Aston Villa. "It's on our minds too. That was the important thing, to show the spirit we have in the team." The angst has now been cranked up a notch by a telling, not overly unexpected concession from captain Bruno Fernandes. "It's not a positive moment," he said, of United's mood while away on Portugal duty. "We're not winning games, and the national team space is completely different." Fernandes, who was able to net for Portugal against Scotland last month, has not enjoyed his most fruitful start to the season and is yet to score from 11 outings in United's famous red shirt. "It's about improving as soon as I get back there," Fernandes admitted, referencing his return to United after the international break. "Making the goals appear again because I'm a midfielder that scores a lot of goals and has over the years always shown a very high level of goals. I have to live up to those expectations and to my standards. What I've been doing is not at all what I want for this season because I haven't scored at the club yet. I hope that once I get there, I can score and help my club get back to winning ways and be at a good level." The future of his manager with United remains ambiguous following the conclusion of a pre-scheduled board meeting between senior boardroom figures in London on Tuesday. The Manchester Evening News understands that Ten Hag himself expects to still be in his job next week. Leaks of dressing room dissatisfaction have been common occurrences over the last decade, with Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ralf Rangnick, and even Ole Gunnar Solskjaer all having to contend with such events with Ten Hag, no exception in having to deal with that either. Just over a year ago, several players were said to be becoming disillusioned with his tactics, and in March, some were concerned with running drills in training amid a spate of persistent injuries. But things have, seemingly now, got a bit more blatant, as proven by three aforementioned players. The recent admissions of Eriksen, Evans, and now Fernandes in front of TV cameras and broadcaster microphones does not bode too well. It is admirable honesty from all three, but does not offer the job reference Ten Hag needs at such a challenging time. Players media-trained and consequently often tight-lipped do not make such confessions unless more than a handful of teammates feel the same way, or the situation is undeniably obvious. In normal circumstances, a draw away at Porto with 10 men and a lockout at Villa Park are good results. But Fernandes' admission this week shows where United really are in context. Just 3 wins from 10 games in all competitions, just 2 in the Premier League. A table rank of 14th and scoreless in 3 league outings. Fortunately for Ten Hag, the schedule looks a lot kinder on paper, at least on the other side of this international break. Fenerbahce away in Europe and Chelsea at home in early November is as tough as it gets for that sequence. Brentford, West Ham, Leicester City twice, and PAOK in the Europa League denotes perhaps a more appetizing run until the next international break in November. The fresh comments from the United captain do not help Ten Hag in his case for revival, but the fixture list does. Should yet further poor results follow, however, then supporters could well see the confessions from the United dressing room become even more uncensored moving forward. Manchester United have become used to seeing title challenges fade early in the season, but after their worst start to a Premier League campaign, they are also facing the prospect of being out of the top 4 race by the end of October. A club that budgets for the Champions League are becoming more familiar with the routine of the Europa League and Thursday night football. For the second time in the last 3 seasons, United are among Europe's B-listers from the get-go. This club threatened to form part of the breakaway Super League, and you can increasingly see why the Glazers were tempted by that pot of gold at the end of a particularly murky rainbow. There is no longer any guarantee that United have the quality on the pitch to guarantee a seat at the top table. This season, they are 14th after 7 games, and with the race for Champions League places now hotter than ever in the Premier League. Erik Ten Hag's side are already significant outsiders to secure a spot for next season. That would present a sizable headache for Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who intends to make this club profitable after his £1.25 billion investment in February. That won't be possible without Champions League football. For a clear understanding of the gap in revenue, just look at the figures. When United last reached the Champions League quarter-finals in 2018-19, they took home £93.1 million. When they reached the Europa League quarter-finals in 2022-23, it was just £37.5 million. If this season doesn't recover, then once again, United will see the value of their Adidas shirt deal drop by £10 million, with a clause written into the new 9-year contract starting in 2025-26 that penalizes the club if they don't reach the Champions League. The importance of that competition to the club is clear and was laid out in black and white in the annual report. Take this bit on Europe. Qualification for the Champions League is largely dependent upon our men's first team's performance in the Premier League and, in some circumstances, the Champions League or Europa League in the previous season. Qualification for the Champions League cannot therefore be guaranteed. Failure to qualify for the Champions League would result in a material reduction in revenue for each season in which our men's first team did not participate. To help mitigate this impact, the majority of playing contracts for our first team include step-ups in remuneration, which are contingent on participation in the group stage of the Champions League. This is aimed at investors and details the risks associated with backing a football club. On-field success is never guaranteed, but in United's case, it's increasingly unlikely as well. Then there is the damage done to a reputation and the ability to attract and keep the best players that becoming Europa League regulars can cause.